and beyond. Last month, he started a little controversy. He wrote the Rodgers situation has divided the fan base. So this month, he didn't mention Rodgers at all.
Well, he's not there right now, so that's probably best served.
Well, training camp starts on July 27th, so that's kind of the next date to pay attention to. That's a couple weeks from now. I think he will be there. I don't know that the Packers have won this long term. I think we have a couple more years to play out to see if they won this. If there is a winner and a loser. I think if you look at the Patriots Brady situation, Brady's won that situation. If there was a winner and a loser in that situation, Brady won that situation.
Right.
It doesn't take away anything of what they did. Their dynasty doesn't take anything away from Belichick, except for I think we now give Brady a little more credit than we did Belichick. And in this situation, I think that Aaron Rodgers gets all of the credit for what the Packers have done. I mean, even when we were talking about Matt LaFleur last week in the ranking of coaches, is it Matt LaFleur or is it Aaron Rodgers? What did he walk into? I don't know that we'll see who won or lost this because I don't know how this is going to play out over the next couple of years. But I do think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers in training camp this year.
Yeah, remember, Brady really didn't have the freedom to leave New England until he did. For years and years, he finally negotiated that deal where he could leave at the end. And he was 42, 43. Remember, what is Aaron, 36 years old? So when Tom was Aaron's age, the team controlled it as well. And so this may look unfair, but Brady only, I've said this about the NFL, the franchise tag is the pits for quarterbacks. It stinks for quarterbacks. I am not a big fan of the franchise tag. I understand if you're a defensive back or a receiver or a tight end, it's good for you. And so it's good for the collective. But if you're a star quarterback and you don't like your organization, and on the open market, 12 teams would come after you like Aaron Rodgers, the franchise tag is not good for star quarterbacks. Now, Mahomes got a great situation. Josh Allen's got a great situation. But Aaron, and I think Aaron's is way better than everybody says. Green Bay is a good situation. But, Aaron feels a little trapped. Well, Tom Brady was, as the greatest quarterback of all time with all those rings, until a year ago.
Yeah, I don't think that it's an unfair situation. I don't really love the word fair, but I don't think it's an unfair situation. I just think that Green Bay is playing a very interesting game because he will eventually be able to leave. And are they going to be set up for their future? And quarterbacks are playing much, much later into their lives than they used to. So you are taking a gamble of how he leaves and if he is successful somewhere else. You're betting on yourself there.
Listen, there is no perfect situation.
No.
Brady, let's be honest, his last 5 years in New England, they could not draft skill people. So Brady was carrying an anemic offense, one of the slowest offenses. Aaron, we never have any money. Free agents don't like to be here. Russell Wilson has to play in the toughest division against the best coaches, great defenses, Aaron Donald, Bosa, and also Pete Carroll, historically offensive lines, not his strength. He's a little bit, I would say, old school in the way he develops an offense.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, it's a grease fire in the organization. So even when you're the greatest quarterback, there is no perfect life. Aaron can't get a free agent. The Seahawks run the ball too much. Brady had no speed on the perimeter last 5 years. Mahomes that's
pretty close.
That's got a lot of Joe Montana feel to it, where he has got the coach, the schemes, the speed, the talent, and all that. Oh yeah, this year off season, they just went and bought the world's best offensive line. So Mahomes, and by the way, once that contract joy starts getting punitive, he won't have all those pieces. Enjoy this 3-year bubble, because even for the all-time greats, once you start making big money, it's a world of imperfect, not perfect.
Absolutely.
Enjoy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Line News.
Chris Paul revealed after clinching his spot in the NBA Finals that he played with a partially torn ligaments in his right hand against the Clippers, and he was asked how he had been working through the injury. CP3 said he thought he dealt with it well, but was happy for some extra rest before the next series.
Managed it well, good. These days that we've had off have been really good, and we all get a chance to rest up a little bit before we get it going again.
They're in a pretty good situation outside of Chris Paul and a few other minor injuries, they're relatively healthy. Now, he had the issue with his shoulder in the first round against the Lakers, and then obviously the COVID situation in between the second round, and now he's reeling at an issue with his hand. But overall, like, we knew the issue with the shoulder and COVID, but like didn't find out anything about his hands, and he had an incredible Game 6. Like, he's played through all of it, and they're pretty healthy.
Well, I mean, if you really look at who's left, it's 2 of the 3 healthiest teams. Atlanta was healthy except Trey. Milwaukee healthy until the end with Giannis. And Phoenix really healthy, and Chris Paul, little injury. This is something we've discussed sort of ad nauseum. It's like health is becoming a real situation. And also, the NBA, although it's not football physical or UFC physical, the referees do allow more physical play in the postseason.
It's still contact sport.
Yeah, and it adds a layer of physicality in the playoffs. Referees historically, watching the league for all the years we have, they pull back a little in the playoffs. They let the players decide games. And so you've noticed this last 5-6 years. You know, these players in great shape, and the regular season's a little more casual. The defense isn't quite as intense. And then the playoffs come around, and everybody mans up, and it's body on body, and you're getting health is now, over the last several years. I mean, let's face it, the Raptors won a title because the Warriors fell apart. And the dynasty in Golden State would not have been as great if Chris Paul didn't get hurt when he and Harden were together in Houston. So this is not like a new thing. It's not a condensed schedule thing. Like, health is determining these NBA playoffs last half decade.
Yeah, no, it's not a new thing. And it's why it's kind of hard to point at what it feels like. There are more injuries. It feels like the injuries are caused by the shortened off season, and maybe some of them are. But there's always injuries, and they always affect the end of the season. And many breaks have to happen for you to win a championship. And sometimes it's the best player on the other team gets injured in the middle of the series or the series before, and they're not 100%. I mean, look at Trae Young. Like, that's not a condensed season. Like, it was a complete freak accident.
Well, the last great dynasty we had was Golden State. So they won before Durant got there, and then Kevin gets there, and they're unbelievable. And by the second year, though, the second year of that great team, just think how great that team was. They had KD, Steph, and Clay in their prime, and Draymond in their prime. I mean, that's an unbelievable team. That's 4 potential Hall of Famers. By the second year in the playoffs, injuries, you miss a couple guys, you started to see holes in the Warriors. So even when teams are great, and I don't think either of these teams is all-time great, you were in Miami, you know the Heatles very well. They lose the first and the last. Their second championship, they rolled through the league. But even when you get the greatest players, this stuff is hard.
Well, also, if you are on a dynasty or a great team, you're playing later into the season, and you're going to do that year after year after year. That's why when we talk about LeBron and how many seasons he's played, we have to tag on how much he's played in the postseason as well, because that really adds 3 more seasons to his career, like how many games he's played. And everybody isn't LeBron. Like, LeBron is overall an Iron Man. Like, anyone is going to wear down playing that many more games. So the Suns are favored by 6 in Game 1, and they are also favored overall, according to Fox Bets, to win the series, -182, Bucks +155. So Trae Young had an incredible run during the playoffs, but it came to a halt in Game 3, as we were just discussing, when he injured his foot. He was unable to play in Games 4 and 5, but powered through Game 6. He said it was very difficult not being healthy in the last games of the season.
For me, not being able to be out there for my team for 2 games, and then tonight, just wanting to battle and try to fight through it as much as I could, and try to be out there for my team. It's definitely frustrating not being healthy and not being able to give my full 100%. I feel like we'll be back, and I meant that with my whole heart.
I actually think that this Hawks team will be back as well. I mean, that was a freak accident that happened with his ankle.
Yeah.
I don't think if he would have gotten injured that they would have lost this series. They were basically in control of the series, and Giannis was injured. I mean, if Trae Young had an incredible series, 48 points, 15 points in Game 2, 35 in Game 3, didn't play in Games 4 and 5, and then came back 14, 4 and 9 in Game 6. But if he was healthy, I don't know that the Bucks would be in the finals right now. And what they've been able to do since Nate McMillan took over, I mean, they were 14 and 25th worst in the Eastern Conference before he took over as interim coach on March 1st. They went 37 and 19 from there. The Suns are the only team with more wins in that span. Like, Trae Young has arrived. It's clearly his team.
Well, they play 8-9 guys, so it's not. But the gentleman running the team is a former Warrior guy, so they took like the number 2 from Golden State, really smart franchise, and that's what happens a lot of time. You poach Belichick or you poach a dynasty, and what you have is they've done a nice job drafting. They're in a good spot with cap space going forward. I mean, I don't see any reason why Atlanta, especially in the East, which has been an uneven, up for grabs conference over the last decade, why can't they be a perennial top 3 seed?
I don't see why not, and they have the experience now. And they have the confidence now because they've done it. Trae Young, who's already a confident player, has done it at the highest level. He's completely arrived. I think the Hawks are in a great position moving forward. Yeah.
The only team in that I think I'm interested to see what Boston does, because I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's good, not special. If they did make a move and got a Dame with a Tatum, then it's like, all right, that could change everything in the East. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Atlanta's going to be a really solid, deep roster, well-run for years to come.
So we were just discussing Aaron Rodgers. The drama continues. Packers president and CEO Mark Murphy writes a column each month that discusses the team and answers 5 fan questions.